Is it the purists that say, "Oh, it must be the pedals," or is
it
it just
kind of goes back to that analog digital argument again?
like I must have a tube amp, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. The sort of interaction of the impedance and resistance of all the cables, and even there's people that will say they can tell the difference between an alkaline and nickel metal hydride battery in one of their pedals. You know, there are people that go really silly with it. But yeah,
I bought a plug-in the other day that simulates an amplifier, and this amplifier is powered by a 12-volt battery. But Brian May of Queen preferred.
I think we are live, guys.
I think we're live. We're seeing people. Hello, everyone.
We'll start with the guitar.
Whoa, we are live. Amazing.
Been a while.
I know. Right, let's
over to Jack. Do an intro quick before it stops again.
Let's start the show.
Let's do a show.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I thought I knew how to set this up, and then I wasn't waiting long enough for said stream to come in. Thank you guys for waiting so much. I really appreciate it. Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Let's Drone Out. The best UK podcast on drones, because I think we're the only one. Tonight we are joined by a special guest, Paweł Spychalski.
Spychalski, yeah, that's fine. Yes.
You said that brilliantly, Jack.
That's as close as I can.
Have like a shorter version that we can all, like a nickname, like.
You just go with Paweł. That's not too hard, is it?
Just go with Paweł. It will be great. It will be really great. My nickname is equally hard to pronounce for native English speakers, so don't bother.
Oh, Rob Britton has just donated. So on the show, we light some fireworks, and then I'll carry on the intro.
It says Colin J is back.
Oh, bless you, Rob. Thank you, mate.
We're getting to him. Hang on. Let's just.
NJ's gonna log off.
Paweł looks scared.
Yeah, Clive FPV makes a good comment. Now there's FPV Perfect. Does this put us back into second place for UK drone-related podcasts?
Probably.
Ooh. I wonder if we've dropped from our fourth place overall.
I don't know.
I was hoping we would outlive everyone, and then it would, we would win by default. That's how I want to go. Oh man,
I've been quite enjoying
Thanks,
that.
Rob.
What's his name? I mentioned him before. Is his name Michael or something like that? He does one-on-one, not podcasts, but like
Michael.
Interview sort of thing. So he's just done Chad Kappa, and that was not Chad Kappa. I always do that. Chad Novak. Yeah, really interesting.
Makes us look like an absolute circus.
Right. I think though it's a different thing, because with them it's a one-on-one interview. With us it's a group. It's like people sitting around a table having a chat. It's it's a different thing. But I've been liking what he's doing. It's cool, and cool to hear some more stuff about Chad that we probably couldn't get because we were too busy making Willy
we
jokes.
should just thank everybody for joining us once again, because we know there's far better places to watch and far better content out there, yet you come to us every time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thursday 8 PM, something better, I seriously doubt it.
Right. Sound clip, we'll take that one.
We'll right, so we're also joined by Curry Kitten.
Hello.
We also have the return of, I don't know, he looks familiar, but I'm not too sure who he is. Oh, hang
He's
on.
good
I
eye
think
candy.
that's probably
We'll
the police again. Hang on.
Oh.
Literally answering the door live.
Are we going to watch him get taken away? Handcuffs.
They're going to burst through with guns and a straitjacket, probably.
What's he been up to now?
God only knows of him.
It's that Mavic thing that he's got. That's what it is. getting him in loads of trouble.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
That's usually how Jack
That
starts.
could be anybody. That's how Jack introduces himself.
Yeah, that's usually how,
Yeah.
when I answer the phone and it's Jack. That's usually his first words.
Sorry about that.
What you been doing? Who've you upset now?
Oh god, it's all kicking off.
What's happening with the police? Explain yourself.
No, because then people will be able to work out where I live. We are joined by NJ Tech. Now,
Hello. Yeah, it's been some time, eh?
Now, I've had to sign an agreement not to mention Sophie Ellis-Bextor.
Well, you've already done it.
Are you going to be back for the winter?
Yes. Yes and no. I mean,
do you still even like drones, or are you all about Rocket League now?
No, of course I love drones. I love both. With not equal measure. I definitely love drones more. Yeah, I've put a video back up. It's probably not reached everyone because YouTube does that thing where you can hit the bell icon and it still decide that no, this person doesn't watch you anymore. So I don't know if people are aware, but yes, I have uploaded a video and I will be continuing to upload more videos and crack on with various reviews and bits. So yes, I'm back. No, I haven't disappeared from the hobby. I'm very happy to be flying again and
do you want
really wonderful people.
Do you want to shout out your YouTube channel for any listeners?
NJ Tech, not the computer one, because there's two NJ Tech channels out there, and I think one of them's sort of software stuff.
Type
the other
NJ
one,
space. It's NJ space / it's NJ space Tech or www.youtube.com/Neil Jones Guitar. Don't ask.
That's the other way that you can also get there.
Yeah,
or just type in the sexiest man that's kind of into FPV.
I am into FPV.
It must have been.
I just had to have work. Work owned me for the last few months. That was.
I think it's healthy to have a break from it as well. It must be feel a bit refreshing actually for you.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't feel like I fell off the bike too much when I went out flying the other day, which was nice. Still got the buzz, still enjoyed it, still really happy to be getting back into flying. I know this is probably bad timing in terms of the weather and the way things are going to go.
Not at all. It has rained all year, so
yeah, that's true. Although it was nice today. We had sunshine. It was very windy, but we had lots of sunshine down here in.
This is the problem. This is the problem with like the wind. Is like toothpicks are all the rage and they don't do well in the wind. So that's the problem I've been having. It's like, yeah, it's sunny today, but if I fly it, it's not. Is that a fair representation of how it actually performs? Because there's a 50-mile-per-hour wind, So that's where I've been struggling.
Right, let me just finish the intro.
Go on.
Right, we were also joined by Andy RC.
Good evening, everyone.
My little pet Tony.
How do?
Or shall I say my what are those meerkats' names again? My Sergio.
No, Sergey or Alexander.
I'm
Alexander. I don't know.
Who knows? They're Russian meerkats. Anyway.
I did have to Google it.
And he's not stroking himself. He has actually got a dog there. And I am Jack, also known as Bright Until I Fly, and you're listening to Let's Drone Out. Right, so NJ, I know you've been gone a while, right? But there's these weird foam triangles, right, that look like this. And they fly with only one propeller. I know, it is crazy.
Crazy stuff.
And you can put like drone flight controllers in them. Right.
Good lord.
But you have to flash them with this magic stuff.
This is a brilliant segue. Keep going.
I want to know where he's going with this as well.
He's getting there.
And you can put GPS on it and everything, and you have to flash this software called iNav.
I've heard the name once or twice.
Yeah, and then it does some magic things, man.
And the airplane crashes to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've got or flies upside down really well.
Over.
And it was
That's
made
also.
by a guy called Constantine, I think.
Yep.
And we've got one of you're a developer, aren't you, Val?
Yes, I'm a software developer.
Of iNav.
That's my day job.
Yeah.
No, actually, that's my day job. I'm a software developer.
Ah.
And sometimes, from time to time, also in the evening, doing iNav and other stuff that's not that popular as iNav.
But please donate to iNav. It is life changing and a lot of fun. And like, Pal, you have a YouTube channel. How did you get into the RC hobby? How
As a
did
hobby, that's kinda because like 5 years ago I decided it's time for me to get a drone, so I got the cheapest crap I found on the Amazon, like come on, brushed motors, and half a year later I decided that maybe I should build myself. I've been building stuff almost all of my life, and then one step to the other I got this. Few months later I decided it's time for me to build my airplane and so on and so on, and this is, let's say, by coincidence. I'm in the hobby by pure coincidence
no, so
because it happened only like 4 years ago, so it's really like a very, very short time.
Ah. So yeah, I've used your videos. That you've been very helpful, especially with the iNav auto tune and the servo trim as well. You know, not realizing that you have to land with auto trim still on, and it will save if you disarm.
You can always read the documentation, which does not exist, so come on.
Yeah, no one. It doesn't keep up.
That bit did exist actually about auto trim, because I was asking
it does.
Lee about it, and I said it's not documented. And I looked at the site again. I said, "Oh, it is now. You have to land with it on."
No, I think the for like 2 years now, the iNav wiki has the documentation for most of the most. But truth to be told, people usually do not read the documentation, especially documentation. I know because I'm not reading documentation.
No, I like learning it by osmosis. I mean, I think a lot of the iNav wing was covered documentation-wise by the Rag the Nuts Off guy. I think he done quite a bit of the documentation in the early days.
Yeah, its original series is quite good, yes.
So, but yeah,
and painless, of course. I think he was the first big channel that started doing materials about the iNav, like for 3-4 years. No, how old is iNav? 3 years?
I
think something like 3 years. I think.
I will search our.
Probably Lee that's the biggest channel out, wouldn't it be, that covers iNav the most?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And I can look it up. Hang on. Oh,
I had a question of Paweł actually, because I watched. I was quite interested to watch your video about where's the money go, where you sort of track down sort of consumer paying the money to retailers paying manufacturers. And when it comes down to like the software, and especially the software developers getting tiny little trickles of it, which is kind of the way it goes in open source development, I guess, for most people that are sort of hobbying.
Yes.
I was interested because there wasn't really a conclusion there in terms of what do you think the way forward is, because I think there's always going to be a certain amount of people that will be happy to do it as a hobby and share the code for other people to do it and sort of go on that way. Because the other option seems to be taking it as a commercial endeavor, like sort of Flight One or something, and having your own boards and stuff if people want to make money out of it. What's your take on where to go?
It all depends how you really understand the open source project and what the developers are doing. Because from my perspective, I love I'm a programmer of my life. I'm developing software of my life, and the fact that I can put a code into something like this magical board and it does some cool stuff, it's really like very fulfilling for me. And as long as I can only like when I have some willingness to do something, then I just code and it's super cool, no problems at all. But I think, I don't know, maybe year and a half ago, the project called INAV got into a state that it's really no longer a pure hobby grade software created by one guy because he likes it. Users started to expect some kind of support to solve their problems and started to ask for features and so on and so on and so on and so on. If the developers that are in the project called INAV would spend as much time as the user base expect them, because they think that, come on, you like programming, why don't you program this? Then it stops being really a hobby. It starts to be almost like a job that you are not paid off. From what I do usually, I have those phases where I really do stuff for INAV, like last 2 weeks and probably 2 next weeks. I'm really like developing a lot, but then probably I will get tired and I will retire from INAV for quarter, few months, nobody knows for how long, because it's not my job. It's not my job to do stuff for INAV. And INAV cannot hire developers to fix bugs when the bugs are appearing. It only relies on the goodwill of the guys that are helping to develop a project. So it really depends how you look at it. If this is only a hobby, a way to spend a pleasurable evening, because we developers sometimes spend a pleasurable evening writing the code, then it's fine. But if you understand this as a business or really big project that is popular in the community, then it's almost like a work and it's not the same anymore.
Okay, I get that. So, but I suppose my question is, where's it going to go? Is it the fact that it's become big enough that it's like sort of commercial quality? Thus, either someone has to take it on and pump a load of money into it, or what happens? Do the developers kind of get tired of doing it, or the user base is frustrated because they're not getting the fixes they want, because of course no one wants to do it all for free, or what happens?
The whole market that is interested in paid software is extremely small worldwide. It's like a few thousand people, maybe. It's from where I see it, it's impossible to have a good running business that will sustain itself and hire 2 or 3 developers doing stuff all the time if you are not selling a hardware. Because look what all the projects that are commercial right now, what they are really selling. If you buy the Eagle Tree, what do you buy? Software or hardware?
Well, it's a mix of both, isn't it?
You buy hardware, and by coincidence you also get the software. The same goes with Flight One, the Pixhawk. Yeah, the Pixhawk is slightly different because they got commercial sponsorship back over the years. What else? DJI. You buy DJI hardware, not the DJI software. Some time ago, I made a poll if people are willing to pay for a special version of INAV or mobile configurator. People were not interested. So there is not enough money in the hobby, in this potential niche, to convert this into a project that lives only based on the software itself. It's just too small.
But so how does Betaflight do it then? Because they seem to have too many releases, and not too many. Too many is the wrong term, but they have, like, there seems to be a new release every other few weeks. So what? How is their model different than the iNav? Like how
Betaflight? You mean Betaflight, right?
Betaflight, yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not in the inner circle of the Betaflight, so I cannot speak for them what's happening inside. But from what I know, the amount of money in Betaflight as a software development project is more or less the same as in INAV, not existent. With the Betaflight, it's slightly different because Betaflight, on one hand, it has a simpler, let's say, simple role.
Sure.
People do not expect Betaflight to run on everything. People expect Betaflight to run only from 3 to, let's say, 7-inch quads, and it's great. And also, this is probably right now the most popular, let's say, area of the RC hobby. People love flying mini drones. So not only a lot of people are buying hardware, but a lot of people are building this kind of quads. It's relatively simple, and the fact that they are releasing something does not mean that they are paid for this. You found the bug, then let's fix the bug. Let's make a release. Everybody's happy. But I expect maybe there is some more, maybe few $100 yearly in the beta flight, more than the INAF. Not that the INAF has hundreds of bucks, because that's also not true. But there is also no money. The projects, open source projects, are underfunded, just like that.
So maybe it could be that Beta Flight get more donations then, perhaps, just because it's more of a popular.
It's still, from
thing.
what I know, most of the developers of the beta flight are just doing this on a hobby base, because this is cool. They know how to make a quad fly better, so they make the quad fly better. This is only my, let's say, suspicion over there. But the fact that you release a new version, it does not mean that it really, let's say, took a lot of effort to do it. Because the minor releases like 401, 402, 403, and so on and so on and so on, they are usually only small bug fixes. And if I recall correctly, right now Betaflight releases in half-year cycle. They released 4.0 half a year ago. Now they are preparing to release 4.1. So it's not that they are really like releasing everything, and the development is not that fast. Also, because the user base of the beta flight is higher, it's more probable that also they will find a developer that is willing to do some work for the project. It's all an effect of the scale.
Yeah. No,
Also,
that's cool.
also like at the beginning, there was clean flight, and then beta or beta flight.
In the beginning was multi-wii.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, yeah. In the beginning, I mean, there was base flight, there was KK2, there was, okay, but like base flight.
Jack's just saying Beta Flight so that because that's how NJ says it, and he wants him on next week. That's why.
Beta flight.
NJ. Oh, I can't believe he's back. Oh, look how white those teeth are. God damn it. I swear to God, you could make me gay.
He doesn't white them either. They're just like that.
Naturally.
They naturally grew out without anxiety or anything. Amazing.
Surprising the amount of coffee I drink, actually.
I don't believe it. So anyway, there was, then it forked to clean flight, and then beta flight was a way of like having a little sandbox and testing all the push requests or pull requests, and I always get those two mixed up, and that was that at the beginning, and then it kind of got a hell of a lot of traction because of the amount of work that Boris B did. Really, he put a hell of a lot of like, sort of work. He would feverishly work day and night, and then put out a load of releases, and then like only now sort of like INAV completed about a year or two ago, completed its drone sort of side, and then really started to pick up the fixed wing. Is that right?
No. INAV was forked from clean flight more in the same period of time that the beta flight was forked for clean flight, and the flying wing airplane support in, let's say, almost not change basic way is there really from the beginning, because all of that already existed in the base flight. All of that already existed on the clean flight. Only Konstantin back in the, I think it was 2016 or 2015 in the event, started refining this. But the project and the making this better for the airplanes Actually, yeah, something like last year ago, I think with 2.0, with the rewritten mixer and the better graphical interface to set up mixer and things like that. We are gradually refining the product and making this better, blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah, and catching up Beta Flight and some of the features. Because let's be honest, right now Beta Flight is the software you have to look at when you want features and flight performance for the quads, not only mini quads but for the quads. So I will not, let's say, exaggerate when I say that we get from Betaflight a lot, because both projects are open source under the same license. We just take whatever we want from their code, and they take whatever they want from our code. Not that they take a lot, but it's always there. Anyone can take whatever they want.
Yeah, because I remember, like, you know, when I first started using iNav, I mean, you would calibrate your board, and you wouldn't be able to tell which axis you've done. You'd have to rhythmically follow the wiki and everything. Yeah.
Well, good old times. Good old
Yeah.
times, let's say. But this is always the problem, that the iNav has a higher entry level, because you have to set up much more things, and the setup of the things is much harder, and we have slightly less developers, or the smaller user base, so it's harder for us to find developers. This is why very often the development pace is not really that rapid as we would like. For example, we still do not have a good support for Smart Audio 2.1, because we don't have time, we don't have hardware, and we don't have, let's say, immediate need to finally patch it in the correct way.
Who out of us uses iNav? I mean,
Well,
I know Curry does.
I downloaded iNav just to take a look at it, and yeah, it's surprising to me because it just looks so similar to Betaflight. I assumed they were more closely connected than it appears to be, but essentially you're just sharing the interface because it's both open source, and it's a sort of interface that people are familiar with, so you can sort of cross over, I guess, is the idea of going with that interface.
We really share a lot with Betaflight, CleanFlight, and even Baseflight. You always have to remember about Baseflight, because all the projects originated from the same code base. They originated from the rewritten multi-wheel, which was back then called the Baseflight. Configurator internals of all three. I'm not sure if you actually count the CleanFlight as a separate project right now. The interface is the interface. The backbone of the software is more or less the same. The firmwares share the same libraries. They share the same CPUs. A lot of things are similar, but because come on, if I would have to guess, like 50% of the code base is exactly the same in both projects, because they origin from the same place. Only they diverged from the beginning, and they started, let's say, have a different purpose. When Betaflight always concentrated on the mini quads, while iNav concentrated in the beginning on the return to home waypoints and slightly better navigation, and then there was the airplane phase, multi-rotor catch up from Betaflight, and so on and so on and so on.
So from like a multi-rotor perspective, this has always interested me, because I think one of the reasons that people like get out of multi-rotors is because there's no redundancy. You know, there's no flip a switch if I get into trouble and GPS kicks in and it just loiters there. And iNav has the possibility to do that. So that's what interested me about iNav. So are there from what I hear, the acro performance in iNav isn't on par with Betaflight. Is that fair to say? And is it sort of is it a something that a direction that INAV would go into to
You want my honest opinion?
Of course, I want
Bullshit.
always honest.
Bullshit. No, I will never say that INAV is actually on the same level of performance in the mini quads world as the Betaflight is, but it's not true. But I currently own like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 mini quads if you count 7 inches as the mini quads.
And a 3D
Guess how many of those?
Tricopter.
Yeah, I'm not flying. I'm not even counting that. Guess how many of those squads INAV powers? And I'm flying them freestyle, racing, stuff like that. Not only, some of them even don't have GPS. It's one, only one because of the hardware on this one is not supported by the INAV. But that's all. If I would have to guess right now, the acro performance of INAV, if you tune it up correctly, because you have to tune INAV. The envelope of hardware for INAV is much wider than for Betaflight, but if you tune it by experimenting on watching some of my videos and stuff like that, the performance is somewhere on the Betaflight 3.5 level. It's not 4.0 because we lack the dynamic filtering. But if we would add the dynamic filtering, which I'm quite often thinking maybe I should port it finally, then the performance would not be really that different. There is a performance difference. They behave slightly different. But if you go to my channel and watch some of the flight videos I publish from time to time, all of those were recorded with INAV. That's pretty. I'm not the best pilot in the world, but the software does its job.
What do you think of and did this come from INAV? Did Betaflight get their GPS? They call it kind of rescue mode.
Yes, and this is the rescue mode.
The crash towards yourself is what I like to call it. Did this come from INAV, or did Betaflight dream it up by themselves?
No, they developed this by themselves. This is 100% their doing, which is like the name says, it's a rescue. If you really got into a trouble, then the quad will probably return home somehow and then drop close to you. Yes, and this works great in that aspect.
It almost seems.
Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
I was just going to say.
Read the disclaimer first.
It almost seems a shame that the two don't sort of, like, from a developer perspective, come together, because I just love to see an entire package where you have that GPS redundancy, but then you've got the flight performance of Betaflight, and then you could have the full deal, you know.
This.
So what are we looking at?
This is a 7-incher. If I would replace the motors with slightly stronger version, this would be pretty nice 7-incher with full return to home and night operations capability. But no, like I said, you have to tune INAV. You have to tune INAV because in theory, it is possible for us to use exactly the same, very close defaults that Betaflight uses. This is possible. The p-values in both softwares can be set to exactly the same value. I can be set to exactly those same values. The D and feed forward are, let's say, slightly different story. You really have to tune D and feed forward. But okay, there's no feed forward in the INAV. But the filters, the basic filters, are more or less the same. If we would apply, then it would fly mini quads just as fine as Betaflight, without any extra tuning, at least for majority of the users. But we cannot do it. People fly 10 inches, 12 inches. People really fly a very wide.
I understand.
And they put really extremely strange things into the air. So we are not even pretending that you just flash and take it for a spin and it will work. Maybe, if I will have time for the next release of INAV, I will implement a feature that will have a possibility to have different defaults. because there is idea how to more or less do it. Maybe this will make the whole process simpler. But still, the iNav has in the configurator the whole section called presets, when you just more or less choose your type of the UAV and drone, and click apply presets, and the preset is applied. So then at least filtering and pits are more or less to the class, more or less. Still,
Sure.
you then still have to tune it.
Yeah, yeah. No, thanks for clearing that out. That's great.
I
Yeah.
dubbed my S800 with the presets, and it flew beautifully right off the bat. I was really impressed.
Because the defaults are useless in iNav. I will honestly say it. The default values of the pit gains and the filtering is really absolutely nothing good flies good on those values, because we don't know what users will be flying with. Will it be a big, small, heavy, light, 3-incher, 7-incher? We have absolutely no idea, so we just do not set defaults for a specific class. And this is unfortunately the reason majority of users thinks that after flashing iNav and taking into the air and observing how crappy it flies, say that iNav is crappy software, because the defaults are crappy. That's all.
What would you recommend doing? Trim first, then tune? How do you make it not crappy?
On the flying wings and aeroplanes in general, like on Monday I published a video of the full process. That means that set up the center of gravity well, then set up rates, auto tune, auto trim, and then manually improve the tune. This is the way. With the multi-rotors, go to the presets, apply the preset that you think is closer to what you fly. Hopefully for the next release we will update the presets and maybe put some more over there. And unfortunately, you have to learn how to at least basically tune your multi-rotor, because without that, it's impossible. Think what happens when you flash beta flight on the 3-incher. Will it fly on defaults?
Oh, absolutely. No. You arm it and it just flies to the sky on its own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It didn't used to do that. It's only since Beta Flight 4 it started doing that, to be fair. But what is interesting though, and Tony's is buggered off, but he flies X class, but I think he's using Beta Flight, Jack, if I'm not. Am I right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so those are running like what are they, 12, 13-inch blades?
Yeah,
so
something like that.
But you're absolutely right. Yeah, the 3-inch and below, completely different PIDs.
Completely different.
Won't work
The
on default,
different moment of inertia on the frame, completely different frequencies of the noise from the motors, completely different thrust to moment of inertia ratio, because when we do thrust to weight we simplify stuff incredibly. Thrust to weight is only like 10% of the story. Thrust to inertia is more important, moment of inertia, and everything is completely different. The defaults on the beta flight are that good for 1-year-old quad, and it works great. You put yourself bigger motors. I don't have example. Oh no, there's for example. Oh, this thing had different motors. 2306. I replaced the motors with 2208, which has like 40% more torque, and I completely had to retune it. Defaults were absolutely not working. The peak gains had to be lower by 40% to make this thing flying. The defaults are only good on the stuff that you designed the defaults for.
Yeah, which in Beta Flight is essentially a 5-inch freestyle copter from what I experienced.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Even if you would put defaults on the really current, up-to-date, really torquey, powerful 5-incher, it still would fly crappy and over-oscillate, because the current motors have, that much torque than the 1-year-old generation of motors.
So what you're saying is that then with iNav, that you probably can get acro close to beta
Close,
flight.
yes, close.
Close, not quite, but close. That's interesting. Yeah, because that's something that that's an avenue I want to go down with. I recently tried it with Mission Planner because there's been a sort of resurgence with Ardu Pilot and Ardu Copter ever since it moved to that Shibios. Am I saying that right? Shibios. Yeah, and someone came up with a set of defaults for like a 250 mini quad, and yeah, it wasn't bad. And you could flick a switch, and you could be an acro, flick a switch, and then it returns to home. And yeah, that's the kind of thing I think beginners need. You know, if they want to go straight to a mini quad. That's sort of what I'm interested in with iNav. Rather than the wing stuff. Although planes, you know, is what I've done for the majority of my life. I just don't have the space for planes. Otherwise, my channel would just be all plane stuff. I flew.
Yeah,
I flew a Bixler 3 on Tuesday with an FPV set up and everything, and it was it was awesome. Yeah, Philip, if you're watching, he let me fly his Bixler, and I'd never flown one before, and yeah, it was cool. I liked it.
So no, the performance can be close, but you have to, let's say, know what you are doing. Start from the presets we implemented in the configurator, and then try to tune from there. And yeah, you will get somewhere.
I suppose the question is, looking at some of us who are a bit lazy for tuning, and I hold my hands up wholeheartedly, because my lack of time means I just want to go there and fly. You know, this isn't going to work. I'll mess with my P's and D's, but as soon as it's flying okay, I'm like, okay, I'm going to fly this. What do you think the possibilities are having an auto tune that is good enough to get you into a really quite solid flying situation on any size quad? Let's just say.
Define solid.
You won't sort of think, oh, it's oscillating or it's making a noise. Basically, it will just fly nicely. I mean, one could say, okay, we could spend an extra couple of hours tuning it and fine tuning it, getting it absolutely perfect. But something that would just be like, this is flying pretty well out of the box. That sort of solid thing.
I'm not sure if you remember when Clean Flight, 4-year-old Clean Flight, there were some auto tunes. There was a G tune, there was something else tune. It was kind of tuning stuff.
I think I tried it, and I remember trying it out, and it was hilarious because the quad just went, I'm over here, and it'd do this sort of thing for a while, and then it would drift away in the wind, and you had to bring it back. And I managed to get it finished once, and it was really bad.
There is really a shitload of literature how to tune PID controllers. There are mathematical equations, you can read about those stuff. I don't remember right now the names of all those algorithms, but if you know the oscillation frequency and then this happening, then you can really tune it. You can really tune it, and I bet that if someone really had enough time and willingness to implement one of those scientifically proved methods of tuning of the quadcopter, because quadcopter is really like it's every other machine you can control with PID controller. It's not that different, but you tune your PID controller while working. That means it would have to, let's say, start doing those crazy stuff in the air for the learning algorithm to pick up the resonance frequency and then apply this. So it will always look like and something is happening. If you moved one step too far, then something exploded somewhere. This is, by the way, exactly the way how the autotune is working on the aeroplanes. It just compares your input with your output, and you have to do stuff with the sticks for this to work, and tries to match mainly feed forward, so your output matches the input. But this works on flying wings, because flying wings and airplanes in general have shitload of built-in stability. They will not flip over if you slightly mess your tune. They will still fly, only not as good. But maybe someday someone, but I really honestly doubt it. The tuning of the quad is really simple, you know? It's really like, if you know how to do it, then it's simple, of course.
If you're not very lazy.
No, if you know how to do it, because it takes like 10 minutes. Really?
I'll have to have a try of it. It's something I've not tried, but it's something it's on the to-do list. It's just the problem is the to-do list is endless at the moment. So
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah, endless to-do list.
yeah, so I'd really like to check it out though. So yeah, I've got it in like I downloaded and installed it, and I've looked around and watched a few videos, but that's about as far as I've gotten. But I eventually plan to try and do what I did because when I got reunited with Mission Planner, it was a 2 week endeavor to try and remember how everything worked. So it's like learning something new, isn't it? You know, and there's so much
Yeah.
to learn. There's so much to learn in this hobby in the first place. When you know your brain is just full of stuff, and I need to like delete some useless stuff to make some room for some iNav things, and then I'm ready. I think. Sorry to sort of go off topic because I know like we're coming close towards the end. We don't have Andrew / Frank to talk about this. But do any of you guys have any insight on what's going on with the BMFA? As I
Well-
think the short version I saw was don't register or something like that.
Yeah, don't register.
Oh.
Yeah, you were funny enough. You were covering EU drone laws as well.
Yes, but from what I've heard, you are leaving the European Union, so I don't care about you.
Oh, thanks.
Not anytime soon, by the look of it.
Yeah, I doubt it will really happen. No. So, from what I've heard, the rules that you are planning are kind of similar to what will be happening in the European Union, but I don't know anything about the test you're supposed to be taking, so don't ask me.
Mm.
Yeah, it was more sort of to Jack and
Yeah, don't register
Wayne
yet.
and
It's still being worked out. I reckon the price is going to change and all this and that.
this is why I really struggle to pay attention to any of this because it changes on like
You should
a
have
month.
got an email about it, basically. I got
Yeah,
one today.
yeah, that's how I know about it because my friend Phil actually said, "Oh, I got notified by the BMFA today about something about the registration thing." I was like, "Oh man," it's like 1 minute it's a tragedy, and the next minute it's like, "Oh, everything's gonna be fine," and then it's, "Oh no," and then, "Oh, brilliant," and it's like, do we just not pay attention to it until something actually happens? Because it seems like we're just preparing for something that just hasn't been decided yet. It just seems strange. But yeah, so that it's slightly off topic there, but I just wondered if any of you guys know. We needed Andrew / Frank for that one, really, didn't we? More in tune with that, but I just thought I'd mention it because it's something that's going on here in the UK. BMFA is the British Model Flying Association, so like that. I'm not sure what
I think this,
is it.
I think this is the situation currently in all the European Union countries, including Great Britain. Because from what I know, yeah, the European Union got those regulations out, but for example, the Polish authorities, because I'm from Poland, but I do not live in Poland, are only just planning to do something about this because the rules from the above, from the European Union, they're only a general direction, and how it's gonna look like in the end really depends on the national regulators with what kind of the rules each country will come up with.
Yeah, so Win has posted in the chat a Facebook post, I think, to it. So yeah, we can all go and read that. Also, someone has said NJ's gone quiet. Why is that? It's because he's been out of the game, man. This is learning. NJ's learning now here. He's just sat there.
Yeah, I'm this is part of my absorbing phase where I reabsorb the now, and then I will have an
Have you ever
opinion that
messed
will take
around?
up an entire episode.
Have you ever messed around with iNav, NJ?
No, not something I messed around with. I did when the GPS thing became something people were testing in beta flight. I did a bit of that and got one of my quads still mounted up there, but with the GPS, got the return to home and all those bits and bobs working. But yeah, I'd certainly like to see more of that developed on, or that developed for quads, because it's useful and it's as was mentioned, there's no real redundancy for mini quads, but that is an offering, shall we say, that would certainly be useful for some people.
How
Great fun when you mess it
those
up in
that
a
like
wing,
to
it
wander
makes
on
it fly upside down.
What
well,
was that, Wayne? Sorry.
That was, I say, three people talking at once.
Right.
I say it's great fun when you mess it up in your wing. Mine flew upside down instantly because I'd managed to reverse servos in my radio, but not to iNav. So from my manual point of view, it flew fine. Yes, rookie.
Yeah, the rookie mistake. But
It's good,
quite
but
it's
making mistakes that are good
it
for
takes-
learning.
extremely popular mistakes on one of the Polish RC groups. The topic of where to do the reverses on the servers for iNav is popping up every month or something, because the people really like try to do it all the way, make the reverses in the radio, and this always ends very, very badly.
Yeah, at least one decent thing is when you're flying a wing and you're in manual, you'll take it up to 100 meters, then you'll flick a switch, and if it turns upside down, you've got loads of time to unflick the switch, turn it back over, and land it. It's not quite like the fun stuff of quad flying, trying a new mode. I don't know about you, NJ, but I was kind of sweating the first time I said let's do a GPS rescue and see what happens here. It's some
Do you know, I'm not so
confusion that it actually came back.
I kind of had some. I had some inadvertent training with things being reversed, not by actually practicing it as such, but when I used to fly, when all I did was fly RC helicopters and I started flying 3D, when you take a helicopter and you flip it upside down and you reverse the pitch on the blades, when the helicopter's actually upside down, half the controls become reversed, just by the nature of the way the collective works. So in order to fly it in what's essentially rate mode, when you're upside down with a helicopter, if the tail's away from you, then pitch is correct, but ailerons are reversed. So I had to learn to fly in that orientation, and then if the helicopter would swing around, pitch would be incorrect, but ailerons would be right. It would basically always change the way you had to control it. So whenever I've messed up and put something in wrong and gone out and flown it, I've been able to survive it, but obviously that's a really expensive way to learn how to do that, because helicopters are expensive and you don't want to crash them. But yes.
Yeah, that's why nobody flies helicopters.
Yeah. Yeah, I've still got them sitting in the loft. I will get them out and fly them again one day, but
They look cool though.
they are. There's
really
nothing
like-
better than
yeah.
big rotors turning, and especially electrics, because they sound like jet engines anyway.
I
but-
don't know. To me, they just look dangerous. Whenever I've only seen one at a FPV meet, and it was only a 450 size, which you'd think is quite small. So he starts up, and the rotor starts spinning, and you can just feel everybody moving backwards, and moving backwards discontinuously. It's like it's still increasing its
Do you know
RPM.
the most intimidating thing about the small helicopters is not what makes them intimidating is actually the RPM of the rotors, because the larger helicopter, I've got a 700 size helicopter, which is just a monster, and a 600, and they're both running I think the 700 runs between 18 and 2100 RPMs, 600 millimeter carbon
Hey.
blade.
He's got the
doing
turbine
2100.
glider.
Turbo.
Yeah.
It's a turbo. It sounds
but yeah.
almost like a helicopter.
I wondered how
wow.
this
And
is
it's
getting
3D
on.
printer, and it's 3D printed. It's gonna explode. You want me to start this thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And turn the gain up on your mic.
Let me find the radio.
I want to see NJ
This is
fly
good.
a Halley
Hang on. I can
mini
post.
airship there.
Radio is powering.
Hang on, let me find.
Where's the light?
Let me find. I've got the link to you making that. Hang on, let me grab that. The turbo impeller.
No. This is the V2 of the turbo. This is like 3 times bigger volume than something I showed before. Okay.
I told you this guy's mad.
Was that? Were you able to hear it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so yeah, almost like a heli.
Sounds like it's gonna explode.
I hope not.
Long and boring. That is a great video. Like, you've come on this show, and I've just looked at your newest video. Long and boring dead hack RC.
It's long and boring.
Oh man,
It's long and boring.
I haven't watched it yet. I'll have to do it tomorrow.
Don't bother. It's long and boring, just like the name says.
Oh no. Man, yeah, I came. I can't remember when I came across you, but like I've been subscribed for a while, and you know you've got loads of different projects and that. How's the F765 from Maytech? Because you've got that. Well, I haven't got it.
Board is.
And you
should
done
be
it
somewhere here. No, it's still, well, let's say it's there somewhere. I have nowhere to put it right now. The board itself really looks amazing. It's the most powerful board ever, but it's slightly an overkill. You really, in majority of the cases, don't need that much of the voltage stabilizers and the outputs and stuff like that. Maybe I will upgrade one of my wings with this board. Maybe not. I really have not decided yet.
3 video switches on it as well, isn't there?
No, the 2 only, I think.
2.
No, but it has really a lot of different stuff. So no.
It's also nice to have someone.
I don't know.
Someone European on here because you actually know what a little glider is as well. I quite like that episode. So in this country we've got like a grocery store, supermarket we call them over here, and they sell little chuck gliders, and you chuck it, and depending on which way you put the wing, it'll either go for distance or it will loop back to you and you catch it again.
Yeah.
And you modified one of them. I've got a friend called Dan Upton who made the wings tilt. I bought him a few of those, so he
interesting.
High torque motor, and you just put. I think you put flaps on, didn't you?
No. That's a simple 4-channel motor. The second lead glider is waiting to be built. This time with some more interesting capabilities like FPV and GPS and a new Matek board and stuff like that. But when, like Andy said, the to-do list is very, very long.
Yeah,
always
too long.
Have you got anything you can titillate us with? What are you working on next? Have you got like got anything exclusive for us?
Maybe anyone of you remembers my project penis. Yeah.
Project this guy is very LDO.
Project Penis.
Yeah. There's a video.
I think that's what LDO was originally called, wasn't it? Before it got a proper name.
There's a A-tail project coming along. There's a V-tail project coming along, multi-rotors based on this. There's a bicopter which I'm building, but it's constantly failing, and I cannot tune this thing. There's the lead glider. There will be a smaller racing wing. There is. Wait a second. I will find the hardware.
Is that the David Winterstall bicopter, or is it one of your own?
No, it's my own 3D printed version. Idea. And there is this. I don't know where I will finish, but I always have it printed. It goes like this. There's 2 servos on this and 2 flaps like this. You put it on the drone, connect the servos to the flight controller, and when you pull the throttle down and start to float in the air, it will move like that and give you small wings.
Right. I got
Wind
yeah.
resistance.
Then you open the throttle and it goes back up and fly again. When?
So a bit like the Osprey then in a way, because that kind of does that, right? But in opposite, you know the V22 Osprey, it's like tilt rotor. No,
Yeah, but they tilt the whole wings or only the
no,
gondolas with the
no,
motor?
just the
Don't-
rotors tilt on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's the same like using a wing for efficiency, right? Or is that the idea? To use a wing?
It- no, rather to see what's gonna happen and how spectacular it will disintegrate
Right.
in the air.
Fair enough.
But
I thought there
how
was a
am I
concept
supposed
there,
to
but it was like, I wonder what happens if I do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. This is half of my doings. I wonder
Fair
what's
enough.
happened when I'm gonna do this.
No concept. Just yeah. All right. This is a thing. I'll try that. I like that.
Right, guys, I think we've made up for the time that we started late, I believe. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you had a good time. It was
Yeah, it was quite pleasurable. It was quite nice.
Yep. We'll get NJ to take his top off next time. That's the only way I can think of making it better. But yeah, you guys have been listening to Let's Drone Out. Thanks for all the Patreons. Thanks for any donations, guys. Rob Britton, you're a legend. Hopefully we'll get Andrew/Frank back. If not, the show will go completely tits up. I am on in a little less than an hour at 10 to 11. I'm on the Thursday night show playing 80s music. I put the link in the chat. And you've been listening to Let's Drone Out. You've been joined by Paweł Spychalski. Daddy or Curry Kitten.
Late donation. Hello. Goodbye.
The sexy NJ Tech. Good to have you back, buddy.
Take care, guys.
And everyone's favourite disclaimer lord, Andy RC.
Good evening, all.
And I've been Brighton Till I Fly. Remember, donate to our Patreon and donate to INAV. Fight the good fight. Enjoy, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys. That was very nice. Thank you very much.
Hang on. Aries posted. Hang on. Let's light a firework.
That's why I said late donation. You weren't paying attention.
Oh no, it's out. Damn it. Sorry, I didn't. Thank you, Aries. I know. Thanks, guys. Anyone got anything going on later? NJ, you playing Rocket League?
Probs.
Play some Rocket League and listen to the Thursday night show. Stream it on Twitch.
Oh, I love that. I was watching you guys do Rocket League, and it was like a disco. Was it Rob? He was playing like all my favorite songs, but it turned out I was the only one who could hear them, and no one else could hear them. But I was like, play Kim Wilde and all this business, and I thought NJ was like, and it was the song that NJ wrote, and I was like, or helped to write, sorry, and I was like, nah, I didn't hear any of it. I was gutted, but it was great. Yeah, I like that Rocket League. I want to buy it. I'd be rubbish at it, but I'm gonna get it.
Oh, there we go. And next week we'll record a bonus podcast for our Patreons, I think, if you guys are up for that. And I need to upload the outtakes and stuff. So.
Oh my god! Did Peter get anything from that?
Yeah. It's fine. Have a listen. Have a listen on iTunes, Stitcher,
Okay.
whatever, Podbean.
Oh my god. Okay.
Cool. All right. Good night, guys. Catch you later.
Right.
Bye.
I'll do the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.